Welcome back to the Thermo Diet Podcast. I'm your host, Jayton Miller, and I'm here with the lovely Kitty Blomfeild. How are you doing, Kitty?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Did I say that right? Blomfeild?
Yeah. It's pronounced Bloomfield, but it's spelt with one O, so it's confusing. So you did good. Yeah.
Sounds good. Sweet. So what's your story? Can you give us a kind of quick background of what you do, where you came from?
Yeah. So we've got a company, or two companies actually. One's New Strength, and I own that with my partner, Craig, who's also my partner in life. And we've got a program, our main program is called Win at Life, where we teach women how to break free from restrictive diets, restore their metabolisms, and build bodies they love. So lose weight, tone up, build muscle. And then I've also got another company called Saturate, which means saturated in French. So my business partner is a nutritionist, Emma. She's called Emma Skarakis. I always say her name wrong, sorry. She's always like, Kitty, you always pronounce it wrong. And she's a certified nutritionist, and we produce a range of metabolically supportive supplements. So we've got clean casein, we've got freeze-dried liver tablets, we've got Cascara Sagrada, which you would know about, gelatin, hydrolyzed gelatin, and we're actually developing skincare. So a range that's got no nasties and all saturated fat, which is taking us a bit longer than we thought. But I guess my backstory, I'm nearly 40, and 5 years ago I got divorced, and I was seeing this therapist, and we would always talk about nutrition because for pretty much my whole life since I was about 19, I just literally starved myself like most women. You know, I think when I was younger, I didn't get sucked into the diet culture, so I just ate. And when I think about back to those days, you know, when I was a kid, when I was in my early teens, I drank milk, I ate fruit, you know, I ate meat, I ate vegetables, and then, you know, I sort of hit that 17, 18, and I got sucked into the whole, you know, diet culture and being skinny, and I just went on this, God, I tried every diet. You know, I did shake diets, I sold isogenics for 12 months, I did keto, I did every protocol of fasting, and I was just a really big binge eater because I would do them for a while and then, you know, I'd lose weight, and, you know, it just depended on how long I could, you know, stick to them and how good my willpower was. And then eventually, obviously, all the sugar cravings would take over, and I'd end up having these ridiculous epic binges. So I then actually did a couple of fitness comps because I needed an excuse to restrict. And I would look at those women and I would think, oh, they're so tiny and they're so lean and they look so happy. So I did a couple of comps, and, you know, I got down to probably my lightest weight was like 54 kilos, but I literally had to starve myself and train 7 days a week and do heaps of cardio. And obviously I just rebounded, and my binge eating got worse and worse. I took laxatives. I made myself throw up. And I think, you know, like so many women get sucked into this crazy restrictive diet. And I just was on this constant yo-yo. And I felt like my whole life revolved around food, and I was just completely obsessed. So I was either dieting and restricting, or I was on the other end of the scale and I was just binge eating. So I got divorced and I was seeing this therapist, and, you know, we talk about nutrition. And at the time I was working in mining, and she said to me, you know, Kitty, have you ever read any of Ray Peat's work, and have you read any of Emma's work? And I said, no. And she's like, go away and read it, because she said women that have thyroid issues shouldn't eat green vegetables. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, shouldn't everyone eat green vegetables? You know, I just eat plates and plates of them at every fucking meal, basically, which was crazy. I look back now, I think, oh, God, what was just also tasted just so blah. And I went away and I read, there's an article, and if you haven't read it, go and read it. It's called Defending Fruit and Other Non-Complex Carbs. It's one that Emma wrote. And I just remember reading it thinking, holy shit, like, this is why I am how I am. Like, I felt like I'd stumbled across the holy grail. Like, you know, when you just, like, the fitness industry has been lying to you. Like, they're telling me to cut sugar and cut dairy and cut all these things out. And here's Emma saying, this is what your body needs. Your cells run off sugar. Like, this is why you're binge eating. So I emailed her, and I had to work with her because I was just like, I need to know what she knows. So I did her Popping the Food Bubble program, and then I was just like, this is it. This is it. Like, I stopped binge eating. You know, I started sleeping better. My digestion improved. My period improved. So I had all these issues with my period. I had a miscarriage. And at the same time, I met Craig, and he taught me how to strength train. And, you know, because prior to that, I was doing heaps of HIIT. I'd get up in the morning fasted, no food, and I'd go and do an hour of like circuit type workouts, and then I'd do an hour of HIIT training, 2 hours I fasted, and then I'd just eat no carbs the whole day. And, you know, I started eating more sugar, and I learned how to squat, bench and deadlift, and I just fell in love with lifting, and I got into powerlifting, and yeah, it just changed my life so much that I left my job in mining, and Craig and I opened New Strength. So initially we had a gym, and we did that for 3 years, and then we wanted to expand more and, you know, help more women, because I'm really passionate about freeing women, because I, you know, obviously you feel better and you can eat more food and you just, you know, you get off the diet, yo-yo train, but, you know, I think it really changes your whole life. You know, once you get out of that mentality, you're not focused on food all the time, you can be a better partner, you know, you can chase your dreams like me. Like I left my job in mining and opened this business. I've never done anything like that before. And yeah, here we are 5 years later, and we sold the gym now, which was probably good timing given everything that's going on. And yeah, we just got the online program. We've got over 500 women in it. We're building out a new app, which will be awesome, like a food tracker, and so we can track all the subjective and objective measures. And yeah, that was a really long story.
No, I like it. So, do you think that, you know, a lot of these nutritional and lifestyle changes had to do with kind of the perspective shift that you had during that time?
Totally. Because I guess previously, like I was trying all these diets like keto and fasting, and all of them cut sugar. You know, a lot of them said to cut sugar and cut calories. And I was always, my goal was I just wanted to lose weight and be skinny. I never ever knew about metabolism and focusing on my health and fixing my digestion. And, you know, when I started to read Ray's work, and I worked with Emma, and then I did some work with Dodie and Rob, the authors of Popping the Food Bubble. You probably know Rob Turner. He's awesome. And I worked with Dodie for 12 months. And my focus shifted from eating to be skinny to eating to improve my health and my metabolism, and actually listening to my body. So, you know, like if I was hungry, I would eat. If I craved sugar, it meant I meant that I needed to eat more sugar. And instead of going, look, here is the list of foods that you can and cannot eat, it was about, I want you to eat the foods, Kitty, and then I want you to measure your temperature, your pulse, your sleep, your digestion, your mood, your energy, look at your menstrual cycle, and try and eat to improve those things. And when I did that, not only did I obviously feel better, but combined with the strength training, you know, my physique just completely changed. And, you know, now it's really easy for me to maintain the body that I have, only training 3 days a week, and I eat like lots of food, and I never feel like I have to like cut sugar or cut anything out, which is just awesome. It's just amazing. But I think you're right, like it's having that shift in terms of the diet, but also the sugar, because I think I was like so anti-sugar. Like it was like a religion. Like if people told me to eat sugar, I'd be like, nah, there's no way I'm eating sugar. I didn't drink dairy because I had too much sugar. I didn't eat fruit. I made my own almond milk. Like it was crazy.
Wow. So like during this time, whenever you started implementing these different kinds of foods back into your diet, did you have to do it very slowly, or did you kind of do it all at once? And was there like some weight gain that kind of made you hesitant about it?
I think like I'm the sort of person who goes all in with everything. So like when I met Emma, I go, okay, I'm doing something and I'm just going to go in 100%. So I pretty much just started eating all this sugar and started eating all this saturated fat. And, you know, I remember when we were like, oh, we're going to start drinking chocolate milk, and we thought it was so radical. And I did actually gain weight, because I think that I think a lot of women, when they come from that low carb, low sugar diet, you know, their metabolism is at a certain spot. And when you go and add in all this extra sugar and fat, you know, your metabolism isn't optimized yet. So, you know, you're not able to burn that many and utilize that many calories. Plus I didn't have as much muscle. So I think at my heaviest, I probably got up to like 75 kilos. But saying that too, I wasn't as consistent as I am now. So while I would eat the foods, I remember that Craig and I still would on the weekends go and eat like, you wouldn't have it over there, but like Nando's, you know, so I'd still be eating some deep fried chips which had vegetable oil in them. I still drank alcohol, more alcohol back then. Like now I just don't drink that much. So I think, and, you know, that's obviously all part of my journey and part of the process, I think, of, you know, gradually over time getting more consistent. And I think all of those things contributed to my weight gain. So some of it was muscle, but some of it was fat as well. But, yeah, I think that a lot of women, when they start this process, I think, you know, what I've seen from just working with thousands of women, that there's two types of women that we tend to work with, is the ones that have, like me, been really good at restricting, you know, so we restricted more than we binged. So I was able to sustain a lower body weight, but I was skinny fat. But, you know, like I would probably be averaging 1,600 calories a day. And then there's women who binge eat a lot and put on a lot of body fat. So I think, you know, if you're someone who has restricted for a long period of time and your resting metabolic rate has really slowed down, and if you go and throw so many calories in there, and saturated fat and sugar, there is the potential that you will gain some body fat. So I think it really does depend on the person. I think there's no, like, you're definitely going to gain body fat eating like this when you first start. And you guys probably see the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, you know, looking back on that time, would you say that the weight that you gained was worth the reward that you received in return, as far as like how you felt and, you know, kind of the health benefits that you experienced?
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes, like, because often I'll think about it. And, you know, like women in our program, some of them, the ones that do gain weight, of course, no one wants to gain weight. Like, no one wants to get fatter. But I think that obviously by doing that, I was giving my body the nutrients and the energy that it required to heal. You know, so my menstrual cycle normalized. I started to poo every day. You know, before that I was pretty constipated, which was pretty bad. I slept through the night. So I think, and, you know, now I'm probably weigh about, I jumped on the scales this morning, 66 kilos, you know. But I think the fact that I sat at that higher calories for quite a long period of time, you know, when it came time to just, you know, I wanted to lose the body fat, it was quite easy because my calorie base was so high and my metabolism was so good. So all I had to do was just be more consistent and get my macros right and, you know, train consistently, and the fat has just come off, and now I'm in this really good spot where I can eat a good amount of food. You know, I only have to train 3 days a week. I just walk my dog Winston, and I just feel really good. And everything's good. Like, period comes, bang on 28. I know that you obviously men listen to this too, but I think for so many women, like that, those hormonal issues is probably a really good sign if things are not functioning as they should be. And for me, that was like one of the best indicators because my period was pretty bad. I had a miscarriage, had polyps removed, had precancerous cells removed. And now it's just like comes every 27, 28 days. It's regular, it's pain-free. To me, that's a really good sign that things have balanced out and they're working as they should be.
Mm-hmm. So that's actually something that we see a lot is a lot of different women have trouble with their PMS symptoms and think that at this point it's something that's supposed to be normal. And I can't really speak from experience from there. So why would some of those things that they experience, for instance, like excessive cramps and pain and mood swings and things like that, why would some of that stuff not be normal for PMS?
Well, I think, you know, like you said, you just think that it's normal because when you go to the doctor, like when I used to go to the doctor, they'd just be like, this is normal, you should just take the pill, this will help you. So, like, when health professionals and doctors are telling you that it's normal, then of course you're going to think that it's normal. And, you know, I think so many, and it was the same with me and women that come into our program, the reason they experience these, you know, hormonal issues is because their body has become so estrogen dominant, and that is through diet and lifestyles, you know, factors. So like the low calorie diets, the low sugar, not enough dairy, you know, and their body's not making enough progesterone to oppose the estrogen. And, you know, like one thing that we're always banging on about, and I'm sure you do too, is eat the liver. You know, liver is just got so much vitamin A in it, just 100 grams, which is the smallest amount, has enough a week's worth of vitamin A, and your body uses vitamin A to make its protective steroid hormone. So one of those is progesterone. So not only are women under eating, not getting the nutrients they need, but they're also not making enough progesterone to oppose the estrogen. Then they go and throw in things like the birth control pill and the Mirena, and HRT. And, I did it myself. For years I took the pill, because I guess you trust the medical profession to tell you, like, you just believe that they're right when they say that. But it's not. You don't have to suffer, and you shouldn't. And, we see it all the time. Women come into our program and they're, oh, God, Kitty, my period, it's terrible. I get so much PMS. And then after a few months, of eating the right food, eating consistently, getting sun, doing all the things that we suggest, I see these messages going, oh, my God, my period just came. And I didn't even know. Like, just came. No bloating, no PMS. So, yeah, it's quite incredible. Even to this day, it amazes me the effect that food can have on the body, like getting the right nutrients in. It's probably the same with you guys.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. One of the other things that I tend to see a lot is people, there's some women that have come to me and asked about hysterectomies, or they've had their ovaries completely removed. Have you had experience with that? And what are some of the tips that you would give somebody that's going through that?
Well, I would, because we've had women in our program too, like the doctors have told them to have a hysterectomy. And I would always just encourage them. I mean, obviously, I'm not a doctor. I want people to know that, you should still seek out medical advice for if there's, who knows what's going on. But try to improve things first with diet and lifestyle. So I think one of the most important things is get enough calories in, So, God, I don't think that women should be eating anything under 2,000 calories a day. And it will really depend on your life and your stress and how active you are. But the women in our program eat probably anywhere between 1,800 up to 2,500 calories per day, ensuring that you're getting adequate protein. So a lot of women, I think, when they just undereat protein and overeat fat. So protein's obviously important for building muscle, but it's also important for, your liver to function efficiently. So make sure that you're eating at least a minimum of 90 grams of protein per day. Fill your diet with lots of good natural sugars, so fruits, juices, sugar from dairy, even having some white sugar. White sugars, as you would know, is just energy. It's not poisonous like everyone is telling you. So if your diet is full of foods that are nutrient dense and easy to digest, having some white sugar is fine. Like I have white sugar in coffee. I have white sugar in my ice cream. I don't have diabetes. I'm not fat. Ensuring that you're getting liver and oysters. Those two foods are just the best foods. I think they're superfoods. So, packed with vitamin A, all of your trace minerals. Like we mentioned before, your body uses vitamin A to make progesterone, which opposes estrogen. Cut out all the bloody green vegetables and the nuts and the seeds and all that stuff that's super hard for your body to digest. Get sun, get sunlight, dairy, calcium's so important. Stop flogging yourself with cardio. Cardio is not metabolically supportive. I mean, I'm not saying you say you play sport, but I always say to women, look, and I had a message about it before, train specifically for your goal. So if you're a young man, your goal is to play sport, obviously you just need to fuel your body appropriately, make sure you get enough recovery. But if you're a 40-year-old woman who has all these hormonal issues, cardio is not your friend. You need to allow your body to rest, strength train to build muscle. So train appropriately and listen to your body. I think so many women just flog themselves. I was the same. I'd get up every morning, fasted, I'd be exhausted, but I just had this, it was just ingrained in me that I needed to train every day and I had to train. Whereas now I train 3 days a week, occasionally 4, depending on my program. And I really look forward to my days where I'm not training because I like the recovery. And also I know that if I go into the gym and I'm tired, I'm not going to perform at my best and I'm not going to be able to, increase my strength and hit my numbers. So, I think that there's a lot of good things that you can do with your diet and lifestyle to improve your hormonal issues.
Definitely. Whenever it does come to another question that I've gotten from some women is whenever it does come to that time of the month, are there any kind of strategies that you use as far as supplementation or extra sleep or things like that to help prepare you better for that time of the month?
I think, like, and I'm sure you guys probably recommend this too, a good supplement that we use, but always has to be used on top of the right diet because it's pro-metabolic, and it'll speed everything up, is Progesterone. So I don't know if you guys recommend that to clients too. So it's just a natural progesterone supplement made by Pate. Actually, we buy it off his girlfriend, Catherine. She's lovely. So I've found that in conjunction with the right dietary changes, that can be a real game changer for women. And even though I don't have any menstrual cycle issues, I'll still supplement that from day 15 to 28 of my cycle, and I'll use it sporadically if I have like a really stressful time or if I feel like I've got a headache coming on. I think extra salt. So adding extra salt into your diet, making sure you're keeping your good like natural sugars high, so drinking extra juice, eating extra fruit. Because, a lot of women go, oh, I crave sugar. They'll crave sugar. So I think it's just, get the good stuff in, get the orange juice in, get the fruits, get some good quality homemade ice cream, get sun. But I think, overall, if you're making those changes, then you should be able to get to the point where you're not getting those symptoms anymore, where it should just turn up and it should be pain-free and you shouldn't feel like you want to rip someone's head off. Like I think some women do.
Definitely. And you have some amazing recipes, especially on YouTube and on your Instagram and stuff like that. What are some of your favorite recipes that you use like every single day or every single week?
So fudge. I just love fudge. Like I am like seriously addicted to fudge. Every day, like I've got a few recipes. I've got a plain caramel, a white chocolate and a chocolate. And I reckon I'd eat probably 4 or 5 pieces of fudge a day, and it's a real staple in my diet. Ice cream, so vanilla ice cream. You don't have to make vanilla, but every week I make ice cream and I, have it after dinner every night. It's just incredible and so good to help you sleep. Oh, God, we've got so many recipes, but I think those ones are probably the 2 things that I make consistently because I keep my diet quite simple. So, like, I eat a lot of, breakfast will be eggs, cheese, milky coffee with our gelatin, new gel, sugar, cheese and fruit I eat for snacks, coffee and fudge I eat for snacks, and my lunch is usually some form of protein source, and I'll just eat a lot of fresh fruit, and then dinner is usually some type of seafood with potato juice and then ice cream. So I keep it pretty simple just because I like it and it's tasty. At the moment I'm eating I made this like chicken and prawn paella type risotto. So I'm eating that this week for dinner, so that's a really good one. So I think, there's just so many amazing, simple, delicious recipes that you can have which have carbs, which you can have. If you check out our YouTube channel, it's pretty funny too. Well, I think it's funny. Some people probably don't.
And what's it called?
Fucking Easy Food Prep.
Yes. I like it.
Well, because it's simple and easy. Like a lot of the women we work with, they're mums, they're busy. We do a lot of stuff in the slow cooker. So you just throw all that in the slow cooker. You can portion it up. You can freeze it. They're really simple recipes. Mel, who's one of my coaches, she's not really a master chef, so we try and just keep it, nice flavors like spaghetti bolognese that we serve with rice noodles. Oh, God, there's just so many recipes. But check it out. Yeah, you can just pick the ones that you like.
Definitely. What are some of the best tips that you would give to somebody who's trying to prep for the week or kind of have their week organized as far as their food goes to make it as easy as possible?
So I always think, and I find that when women start this process, like they overcomplicate things and they try and cook up too many fancy recipes. And I think if you're someone who doesn't have a lot of time, then you really need to sacrifice variety. Because otherwise, if you're trying to plan out meals day to day and you get stuck at the kids' sport or something stressful happens at work, you'll just find that you're not prepared and you're going to end up reaching for shitty food. So I like to keep it really simple. So I'll usually just cook one. And I know obviously if you've got a family, they may not want to eat the same thing every night. But if you just think in your head, like, I'm going to have a source of protein, then I'm going to have, like, I usually have a starchy carb, so rice or rice noodles or potato, and then throw in some fruit or some juice. So I always sort of just use that principle. But, I'll maybe prep one slow cooker meal and I'll freeze it. And then I'll make my fudge and my ice cream, and that's it. And then the rest of my snacks are really easy. So it's cheese. You don't have to prep cheese. Juice, you don't have to prep juice. Fruit, you don't have to prep fruit. Like, it's just already there in the fridge. So I think, keep it really simple and easy, and always prep food in advance, and have some stuff frozen so that if you get caught out, it's really easy. You know, like you can just grab some cheese and some juice. You can grab that meal out of the freezer and you can whack it in the microwave. Because I find that the women that get the best results and the most successful at this are the ones that prep, you know, and you've just got to do it. You know, sometimes I'll get to a Sunday and think, oh, I can't be fucked, I'm a bit tired. But, you know, spend an hour and you can have everything done for the week and you will thank yourself during the week. Definitely.
Yeah. So you have an awesome liver pate recipe. What do you use that on?
So it's like super easy, and it has minimal ingredients. So if I'm having pate, we'll just have it on some nice toasted sourdough. And it's just, and sometimes I'll add marmalade, which is amazing. But at the moment, because I've just can't be bothered to make it, I mean, it's pretty simple. And sometimes it's hard to source the good liver. Emma and I have been taking we just released our liver capsules, so it's freeze-dried liver. So we've been taking those, which is just makes it more easy and convenient. But the pate is beautiful. And if you don't like liver, I think it's a really good way, a tasty way to eat it. Because, I mean, really, like, who likes liver? Like just fresh, plain liver? It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
Do you?
I'm pretty good at eating just about anything. So
you're a guy. I think.
Me, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's so do you notice that the cooking process tends to kind of degrade it versus, you know, eating it closer to like raw in some cases? Because, you know, Danny and like Matt Blackburn, for instance, they like to freeze cubes raw and then just pop them. And that's something that I can't bring myself to do personally.
Emma and I have had this discussion so many times, and obviously the most optimal way of getting it would be you get the cow that's grass-fed and you kill it and then you eat the liver like fresh, raw, right from the, you know, the cow. But really, realistically, how many people are going to do that? So I think obviously the more you cook it, the longer you cook it, the longer it's exposed to oxygen, the more that you're right that it degrades. So I think obviously trying to source it as fresh as you can is always going to be optimal. But then it's also about what you can do consistently and what you can be consistent with. So, you know, we've had incredible reviews on our liver tablets, people taking saying, oh, my skin's improved, you know, like I've already noticing my sleep's improved, hormonal issues have improved, and my temperature and pulse have come up. So, you know, obviously that's more processed than fresh, but it's really is about, so for you, if you just can't stand the thought of raw liver like that, you know, and you like pate, just cook the bloody pate. You know, eating that every week is going to be so much better than doing nothing. And I think that sometimes people can get too caught up in like, oh, I can't do it the most optimal way, so I'm not going to do it. And you can absolutely get benefits from pate if you just, you know, cook it or if you take the tablet. So I think, like, I would recommend finding a way that you can just do it consistently each week.
Definitely. Another thing that I noticed that you're very adamant about is the carrot salad.
The good old carrot salad.
So what are some of the benefits that you tend to experience with that? And what are some of your favorite ways to kind of, you know, switch it up whenever it's getting a little boring?
So I think like the carrot salad, you can go and read more about it from Ray Pete and from Emma. But basically it acts like, this is how I think about it, like a bit of a scrubber for the intestines. So it helps absorb the excess estrogens and endotoxins and just keeps it, you know, clean and optimized. And, you know, I see the women that get the best results, you know, they do the basic things consistently. And one of those things is every day having the carrot salad. So 1 to 2 carrots, peeled, grated. And look, ideally you want to peel it lengthways and soak it in water to get rid of the beta carotene. But again, I think it's about what can you do consistently. So I just peel it, grate it like normally with a grater, and then 1 to 2 teaspoons of coconut oil or olive oil, salt, vinegar, and I just eat it plain like that. But, you know, I've seen a lot of women in our program, like they'll add little bits of feta cheese or some Parmesan cheese. You know, one thing, and you probably know who Keith Littlewood is. He's he's an awesome guy. Does videos for him with me for our program. But he sometimes will put fresh garlic on it too. Like do that for a week if you're having, you know, he said if you've had any issues with parasites. I'm like, oh, that's cool. But yeah, I think, you know, it's best eaten on its own in between meals. But again, it's like, I think like it's always about try and do what you can consistently and then improve from there. You know, so like if you're like, fuck, I can only get it in with a meal, it's like, well, that's better than doing nothing. So do that consistently, and then you can work on optimizing and making, you know, improving things. And, you know, that's how I've done it. You know, like I look at where I was 3 years ago to where I am now, and it's been a journey, you know, and it's been a constant journey of improvement, 1% better, optimizing to where I am now. And I think so many women and maybe even men, you know, like they're like, oh, there's too much to learn. Like I can't do everything perfectly and I can't be 100% consistent, so I'm just not going to do it at all. But I think you've got to switch that mentality to, you know, maybe I'm just going to change one thing a week and I'm going to stick to that. And then the next week I'm going to do this, and then the next week I'm going to do this, because over time all those little 1% things really add up. And, you know, in my head I always think, oh, fuck, all right, imagine if I just keep doing these small things. Imagine where I'll be in 12 months. You know, imagine where I'll be in 2 years' time, rather than, oh, fuck it, I can't do it perfectly, so I'm not going to do it at all.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. So that's one thing that I've always seen, is that the more consistent that you are and the healthier the habits are that you build up, the more long-term success that you're going to create. So whenever it comes in the form of resistance training, what are some of your favorite ways to remain consistent with that? And then what are some of the things that you pay attention to see how your body's reacting to some of that exercise that you're implementing?
I think for me, like I fell in love with lifting, you know, like as soon as I started to learn how to properly lift with Craig. Like I remember when he was teaching me how to deadlift, and I was like, oh, because he said to me, I want you to do a rep. I want you to show me how you squat and deadlift. So I did one. He's like, put the bar down. You know, so I'd never actually really learned prior to this how to lift correctly, and I didn't realize how much more you could get out of it by having good technique. And I worked for a year with he's a really great guy, Thomas Lilly. He's a powerlifting coach. I did work with him for a year just to really refine my deadlift and squat, and it's just amazing how much more now I get out of lifting, knowing how to do it properly. So I think for me it's always been really easy to be consistent with lifting because I just love it. You know, I'm not going to lie, there are days when I think, oh, fuck, you know, I'm too busy, I don't want to train. Like or sometimes I'll tired. If I'm really tired, I don't train because I think it's important to listen to your body. But for me, I think it's quite easy to be consistent. But I guess if you're someone, you know, who, look, I don't know, I think that you are going to get the best results when you love it, when you fall in love with the process. Like I think when I look at the women in our program that gets the best results, they love lifting. You know, they love the art of lifting. They've fallen in love with actually getting better at this skill. And perhaps maybe some better advice would be, I understand that it's frustrating at the start. You know, like when I went back to work with Thomas, I had to unlearn everything that I'd learned. You know, and I had to dial all my weights back and do all these stability exercises. And I was like, oh, this is like the ego took a bit of a hit. You know, like this is so frustrating. I'm never going to get back to where I was. But I shifted my focus. And instead of looking at the weights I was lifting, I focused on becoming better at this skill. So I'd go in and I'd be like, I'd always do my stability exercises. I'd focus on getting better at them, at really focusing on the technique. And over a period of 6 to 12 months, you know, like it's good now. So I think, and also realizing that there's no end to this, that you've got to stop looking like there's an end, because there's not. Like even now, and I'd say I'm a reasonably advanced lifter, I still video my lifts and show them to Craig. And he gives me advice, and, you know, I'm still trying to improve my technique because I find the improvement part exciting, you know, and when you get that extra rep, you would know when you know, like I'm like lifting close now to, like it takes a long time for me to progress now to add more weight and more reps. You know, like yesterday I was squatting and I'm like, oh, it's taking me like a month just to add another rep to like my I'm stuck at like 107.5. Like hopefully next fortnight I'll do 3 sets of 8. But, you know, it's like really, really hard. But I think it's like when you actually love the process, that's when it becomes, you know, so much easier. Sorry, I don't know if I really answered that question properly, but I think you have to get out of that mindset of, oh, fuck, I need to see quick results. I've got to see quick results to I'm going to be good at lifting. I'm really going to focus on becoming a better lifter and enjoy the skill acquisition and the learning, because it's like when you do that, And there's nothing like, and probably the same thing for guys, but I just find it so empowering being strong as a woman and like going to the gym and, you know, like when you like beat a PB on your deadlift or you finally get a few more reps, you're like, fuck yeah. Like it's just like it's the most empowering feeling. It's really rewarding and it teaches you, I think it teaches you persistence and resilience and how to play the long game because you would know yourself, like it's not linear with lifting. Like I've had times where I've gone backwards. I broke my arm squatting, which was a freak accident. And, you know, so there was 12 months where I just didn't really like do any squatting, benching or deadlifting, but I never stopped. Because for me, it's a part of my life and it's what I do. And I just focused on the exercises I could do. And every session I went in and tried to be a little bit better. And, you know, I think as a woman, if you do that, because some women will look at me and go, I'll never lift the weights that she lifts. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But it's not about that. It's about finding what you can do and just showing up and being better every session than you were the session before. And you watch 1 year, 2 years. It's like, I really feel like it's like when you save money, like in an account that accrues interest, it's like that, like you start initially like, fuck, I'm just not seeing any results. Like it's such a slow process, but it's that consistency over time and it compounds, the interest compounds. All of a sudden you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, like I'm getting better at this. My body's starting to change. And it's about putting that work in initially when you're not seeing the results and keeping going because the reward is so great. You know, like if you really truly build this foundation and you improve your metabolism, you will be free from dumb diets forever. You will wake up every fucking day and you will look in the mirror. Like I look in the mirror and I'm like, fuck yeah, I love my strong body. You know, not every woman wants to look like me. Like I'm pretty muscular, but it's hard. You know, you don't just lift the weights and suddenly like become really strong and turn into Arnie. But I think, you know, it's just, I believe that every woman should strength train. Like I think it's just the most empowering, rewarding thing that you can do. Apart from also helping you, you know, build a great physique and, you know, it's metabolic. So I believe it's the way to train to also, you know, support your metabolism rather than tear it down, you know, like by running and doing HIIT and all that sort of stuff.
Definitely. One of the images that I usually have in my head is looking at it as a road trip and you have gas stations along the way, but you have no end destination. It's just you have those little objectives that you're hitting along the way, but there's no end to it. You just keep on driving.
So true. It's so true. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be like 90 and lifting. I'll be lifting till I die.
Yeah, definitely.
Probably same as you.
Some of those older powerlifters are strong too. Like some of those competitions that they have for them are absolutely crazy.
It's crazy, hey. Like some of the women too. Like I mean, I'm relatively strong, but like if I was to compete, I would be. You know, all those other women would shit all over me. But it's not about that. You know, it's just about I think. You just need to be the best that you can be, you know, and it's you versus you. It's not you versus anyone else. And that's what I really like about it.
Definitely. So if somebody just can't get to that point to where they can fall in love with the resistance training, what are some of the things that you recommend just to get that movement in and kind of just help get that part of their health in check?
I guess do you mean like, get like how can they make themselves do strength training or if they just can't do any strength training at all?
If they just cannot bring themselves to resistance train, what are some of the other forms of movement such as walking or some other stuff that you recommend?
We always recommend, you know, like outside of lifting is active recovery. So, you know, get out, get sun, walk, move, play with your kids, kick the footy around, go for a nice swim, go for a bike ride. It's just, you don't want to be like smashing yourself and getting really breathless, you know. So I think if you can't, you know, look, I really think that everyone needs to do some form of strength training, even if it's just at home. If you just get some resistance bands, you know, like Emma, the nutrition coach, she doesn't do any form of heavy lifting, but she just does like body weight squats and, you know, she's got resistance bands and she does some stuff with that. So just even doing, you know, anything, I think it's about going like, what can I do? And just committing to that. Like even if it's 3 times a week for half an hour, just do that. Start there, go walking, you know, get sun. All of that's going to be beneficial. And then I think it's just building on that and deciding where you want to take it, you know, and if you actually truly love strength training.
Definitely. Have you heard of functional patterns with Nadi Aguilar?
No. So
Nathan Colonna and Nicholas Simpson have both pushed me onto this, and it's kind of a deep dive that I've taken recently. And there's also Thomas Meyer from Anatomy Trains, And he talks a lot about myofascial release. And it makes sense to me because we control our skeletal muscle with the periphery of the central nervous system. And then within that, we have the integration of the fascial tissue that's in there. And we get kind of like the knots within the fascial tissue that build up over time as we, come into contact with trauma or we experience stress. And if we can figure out how to release those adhesions or those knots within the fascia, then we can kind of tend to lower the amount of cortisol that's being produced because of that tension that's built up within the body. Kind of correct a lot of different imbalances that are seen within the body. And so if you haven't checked out any of that work, I highly recommend it. It's really interesting.
Is it like fascial stretching? Is that what they do? Or is it?
So they don't believe in stretching because basically the way that they look at it is like a plastic bag, for instance. Like you keep stretching it and you kind of just, eventually it's just going to tear or it just keeps elongating. Whereas they believe in mobility. So you can get more mobile by releasing the fascia properly. And it also helps with like calcium deposits and stuff like that within the muscle, and just kind of helps stimulate the lymphatic fluid through the system. And then they have a certain type of resistance training that they like to do for like things like the gait cycle, and correcting different imbalances within like running and things like that. I don't know if I'm entirely sold on that part specifically yet to go 100% in with it all the time, but the information on the fascia is really interesting. So I recommend if you're interested.
Having a look at it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I think, we've got this, and I don't know whether this is related, but with this friend of ours, Jim Bostock, he's a physio, but he's not really a physio. Like he does nerve blocks, release nerve blocks. And we often talk to him, about stuff like this. And I think, if it works for you and it reduces your pain and it improves your performance in the gym, like why not, And is it working for you?
So far. So I just started his 10-week program. And so I'm slowly going through there. I'm extremely sore just because I've been getting after it hard, but it's fun. It's really good.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those things to where you really have to enjoy being in pain.
Oh, really?
Kind of get the benefit out of it. So
yeah, wow.
If you enjoy torturing yourself a little bit, something.
I don't know how much I like torturing myself.
But no, in my mind, a lot of the different connections that they make a lot of sense. So anatomy trains also, he talks about like the different slings that we have in our body and things like the superficial back line and the different connections that we can have with the different muscles on completely opposite parts of the body. It's really interesting, just his kind of take on all of it.
Oh, cool. I'll check it out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I guess kind of wrapping it up, what are the top 5 tips that you could give to a woman today to start taking the steps that they need to in order to start getting into a better state of health?
Oh, God, I think number 1, just stop fucking doing dumb diets. Like, you just got to get off that diet yo-yo train. Like, stop focusing so much on losing weight. And start to, try and improve your metabolism, and listen to your body. So eat to fuel your body. If you're hungry, eat. Number 2, ensure you're getting enough protein. Like, I think that's just such a huge thing I see with women. So, you can just get a MyFitnessPal account, track your food. You can easily see how much protein you're getting. So, 90 grams minimum a day. If you're doing any sort of strength training activity, you probably want to eat a bit more than that. And it depends on, how much lean mass you've got. But at least eat 90 grams minimum of protein a day. 3, don't be afraid of sugar. Don't be afraid of sugar, it's changed my life so much. Read that article of Emma's. Like, it'll blow your mind. You'll be like, holy shit, Kitty's right. Emma's right. Start eating more fruit. Like, just start by having some more fruit in your diet. Really ripe fruit. Just eat what digests well for you. Try some beautiful pulp-free orange juice. It's amazing. I just love orange juice. Like, do you like orange juice?
Oh, yeah. I drink probably 1.5 liters of orange juice every single day, at least.
It's just the best, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it.
Every time I at dinner, I'll sit there at lunch and I'll drink my juice. I'm like, I just fucking love juice. It's just amazing. So, eat more sugar. Number 4, I think stop flogging yourself. Stop flogging yourself with cardio and just getting up and training and when you're exhausted, because you can't heal when you do that, and look at doing some form of strength training. Just start, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. And 5, eat the liver. Seriously, liver is just the best food ever. And if you can't eat the liver, and try the Pate. If you don't want to do the Pate, try the liver tablets, that we take. But yeah, it really is just such a amazing, incredible food that I think everyone can benefit from eating. Oh, and the carrot salad. Do the carrot salad. That's another thing. That's 6 things, but do the carrot and then do the liver. Yeah.
Definitely. Sounds good. Well, you heard it from Kitty. Thank you. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and get into our Facebook group if you're not in there yet. We have tons of people absolutely killing it in there, and I'll talk to you next time.